like no matter what we do, we just feel like we can't get enough. Enough sleep, enough time, or enough energy. Day after day, from the moment we wake up to the moment we lay down at night, we are worn. It seems like everyone is weary and wearing thin these days, working 40 hours a week just to survive. But when was the last time we actually rested? And I'm not just talking about the recommended 8 hours of sleep that our doctor tells us about. I'm talking about real rest for the mind, body, and soul. With this, I believe that we should have a day of rest and rejuvenation regardless of our busy schedules. So what is it about rest that is so important for us, for our well-being anyways? In a world where we are forced to keep moving forward, fighting time or beating the clock, with deadlines and tight schedules, with no time to take care of ourselves in the process, we are losing our focus and forgetting that the rest benefits us. They say self-care is selfish. I don't have time for self-care. Maybe I'll do it another day whenever the busy season's over. Or I can't afford to take a moment off, let alone a day a week for myself. But what people don't realize is that rest and rejuvenation can help other areas of our life too. I was working on a paper this semester that required a substantial amount of time that needed to be invested into it. I was so concerned that I wasn't going to get it completed in time for the deadline, but I could not find any more time to work on it except for the loss of sleep. I stayed up all night working on it, exhausted from working 30 hours prior that week, as well as completing other assignments, and I had soon realized that everything I had written was horrible. With 3 hours left to spare before work, I was able to complete it with 8 hours of sleep under my belt. What I had yet realized up until this point was that the rest could also help me in more areas than this. Wellness, or an individual's sense of well-being, can be defined as a state of being comfortable, healthy, happy, and also being in good physical and mental health. It is through different forms of self-care, or the necessary human regulatory function under an individual's own self-control, deliberately or self-initiated, that one may truly obtain rest and rejuvenation in order to refill themselves for better living. In order to live a better life, we must do more than just survive. That means we must take the advice from Paige Birkins, author of Simple Mindfulness, when she says, taking care of yourself equals keeping your cup full. If you don't do things to keep your cup full, you have nothing left to give or share with others. She later continues the discussion by saying that the more we continue to pour out to others and everything around us, we are left feeling dry and cracked, unable to help others. This can cause more serious issues like burnout and breakdown. The extreme tiredness and frustration you hold on to can take a huge toll. But not only Paige Birkins believes this is true, many people find themselves in the same pair of shoes, believing that they must get too much stuff done with no signs of being weary. Instead of allowing time to heal and rest from the day before, they keep going. So instead of scheduling your life and being way too busy and making a life instead of a living, why not allow yourself to live a free way with rest? Michael Hyatt, a mentor and advocate for personal growth, emphasized the question, where do you put yourself in your list of priorities? With this, he discussed the difficulties of how, as a Christian, God is supposed to come first, but that whoever comes in second is quite unclear whether it is us or whether it is others. He also, just like Paige, believes that we cannot take care of anyone else unless we first take care of ourselves. This is a very common example for this often hard, I totally butchered that. There is a very common example for this often heard by a flight attendant just before taking off. She says, in the event of a change in cabin pressure, panels above your head will reveal oxygen masks. Pull the mask down towards you to activate the flow of oxygen. Cover your nose and mouth with the mask. This is a vital way for you to remember to always put yourself first before assisting others. This is also a perfect example for good self-care and a healthy state of wellness, being physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, occupationally, and intellectually stable and available for others. Now, there's just one thing I want to clarify before I move on. If you happen to be one of those people who fight for each day, stuck in survival mode, and you put everyone else before yourself, I honor you. It takes a beautiful heart to be selfless and put everyone before yourself. But I also honor your ginormous heart. And I believe that you are worth the rest that you seek, and you deserve the time for yourself. So, when was the last time you actually considered taking a break to focus on you and your wellness? Was it yesterday, last week, a month ago, a year ago? You may not even remember the last time you took a break, but you do not have to perfect the art of busyness in a fast-paced world. Physically, have you ever experienced a Charlie horse? That excruciating pain in your foot, leg, or shoulder from muscle pain and from cramping in your body? Well, our lives are just like these muscles, and they need a day of rest, even after a tough day at the gym, so you can avoid the injury, and rest or restore itself in order to gain your muscle. If you go every day without rest in life, you could increase your risk of further injury due to stress and gain other health risk factors like high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, and diabetes. Back pain, headaches, fatigue, and other problems such as stomach and sleep are all extremely common problems in lives of individuals who refuse to stop for air. So the question must be raised. If you are willing to put your physical health on the line for the busyness in everyday life, risking a long life of happiness and contentment for stress, then what are your values? If you can answer this question, then I want you to ask yourself this: what am I really fighting to break my back for? Sometimes the things we think are necessities are actually just time fillers. Things like watching TV or playing video games, they are there to help you relax, but are you really? Because you're not actually restoring yourself, but you're simply killing time. The act of doing self-care and taking care of your well-being is much more than simply doing nothing. Many people associate self-care with diets, deep breathing, and meditation or yoga, and though those things are great ways to help, they aren't the only way to experience it. The fact of the matter is that we are so stuck in the doing mode that we can't simply be, and then we have not achieved self-care at all. So if we can figure out why we feel the need to be busy throughout the day, whether it's money, possessions, or friends, then maybe we can fight the battle of stressful lives. Another factor of self-care is the emotional toll it takes on your body. Anxiety, depression, restlessness, helplessness, and appetite changes are all side effects of not caring for yourself. One example in today's culture would be the fast food industry. It's cheap, quick, and easy, perfect for your busy schedule. However, if it isn't perfect, just like we're often so held to, then we get frustrated and we leave. It's the same way at home. A 2-minute Hot Pocket has become too slow for us, let alone a sit-down meal with the family because everyone has other things to do. When we exercise more self-care emotionally, we must go to where we feel safe, relaxed, and are free to be ourselves. In this, I might offer a way to reduce the stress and experience a true form of self-care. For me, this place is in the mountains, but for many others it might be the beach, or camping, or inside. Whatever it may be, as long as it brings you relaxation. Fighting the clock is tiring, but when did today's culture begin to believe that we must be perfect in order to succeed? We must do more than survive. So where do we draw the line for our tight schedules and impending deadlines to time for prosper yourself and resting? Rushing through life will force us to miss out of enjoying many moments that pass by, such as children, or grandchildren growing up, or getting married and having a job that you love. There is a growing epidemic of depression of such a fast pace, but it is time for us to slow down and enjoy life again. It is the same thing with being socially and intellectually well, not allowing the busyness of helping with or helping others dictate our sense of personal growth. Helping others is a beautiful and yet again very selfless thing to do, but you must remember that it is all right to say no once in a while. Sometimes it isn't just about others too, but yourself. For me, going to school and bettering myself intellectually has been one of my greatest opponents as I put my homework deadlines before my sleep. Funny thing, I know, but sometimes that's just what you have to do. Alright, so spiritually we are called to be like Christ and remember the Sabbath. What would our lives look like if we worked around our Sabbath days of rest? If it was because we were too busy, we could rearrange our schedules and start small by finding things to do in 1, 5, 15, or 30-minute intervals, so that we could even try, if not the whole day, have a little bit of time for a breather. We were not created to work perpetually, but to take a moment of rest. More than this, even God rested. On the seventh day of creation, He rested. Not everything depends on us, and God can use both of our times, both work and rest. As long as we learn how to love our job without being consumed by it, and therefore not denying any paid vacation due to being too busy, we can ultimately gain a sense of restfulness. Society says that you have to be perfect, and if you aren't pushing toward that goal, then you are doing nothing. Society also tells us that if we spend any time for ourselves, then we're being selfish. But is it? Rest and rejuvenation can be achieved even in the midst of our daily lives.